All right.
Yes.
Hello, I'm here with Katie Morton. Katie
Hi.
is, what would you define yourself as?
I'm a licensed therapist. I have a mental health channel on YouTube where I talk about all things related to mental health, although my specialties are like self-injury and eating disorders.
We're going to chat a bit about the thing that I have, which is called depersonalisation. I mention it a lot. I guess I've made like one major video on it, but I didn't go too in-depth because I didn't really know too much about it yet. And I've been through several treatments since then, so let's talk about it. Tell you what, I'm going to say what I think I know about it.
Okay.
You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Perfect.
Okay, so dissociation is when you might get it for brief periods of time, maybe like during a panic attack or like after where something scary has happened to you, where you just zone out and it's your body's way of disconnecting and dealing with panic. I guess derealisation is where nothing feels real and you can't open your eyes wide enough, or like you feel like you're dreaming, which is what I have 24/7 chronically, always derealised, always spaced out. It sucks. And then depersonalisation is when that's like real bad, and I guess you can't, like, your hands don't look like your hands, or like if you look in a mirror, I always think I look like my brother. I'm like, it freaks me out.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding of it. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right on the right path.
Okay.
Like dissociation as a whole, I always call it our brain's like parachute.
Oh.
It's like, I can't deal with this. Ah! And it pulls us out.
Uh-huh.
And then depersonalization is when you're disconnected from self.
Yeah.
Derealization is disconnected from environment.
Interesting. Okay.
So, like, hands don't feel like you don't look like, that's depersonalization because you don't feel like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But derealization is when we almost feel like we're in a dream.
Yes.
Yeah, and that sounds
That's
like
me all the time.
And people usually toggle between both.
Yeah.
I don't actually think I've had a client. Doesn't mean that it's weird if this is you, but I don't think I've actually had a client who only has one.
I definitely say that when I'm worst, I'm depersonalized.
Mm-hmm.
But like day to day, every single day, it's mostly just derealization, which is not great.
No.
So the ways I've tried to deal with this, it's difficult because I haven't really gone through with everything completely yet, so I'm not ticking them off my list. But I've tried medication. I was on sertraline or Zoloft for about 4 weeks.
How was that?
Terrible.
So it doesn't sound
For
like
me.
a good fit. Yeah.
For me, it was terrible. It took away my emotions. It kind of like, I used to go flip from like depressive episodes to feeling hopeful and one day this will all be okay, and it just kind of flattened them, which I hate. I really enjoyed the ups and downs because it made me feel more connected.
Well, then you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And they call that being blunted.
Uh-huh.
When medication is too strong, which it can happen as a mental illness as well. We can feel like we can't feel our feelings, but that means, in my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, but that means that the medication was too much. It was too high of a dose.
Yes, yeah, it probably was. I was put at 50 and then they increased me to 100.
Ooh, yeah.
Which, yeah, it wasn't great for me. I've also tried EMDR therapy, but I had a weird experience at first. I was a little embarrassed. I also want to talk about TMS because I tried transcranial magnetic stimulation.
I know, it's a mouthful, isn't it? Depersonalization and derealization as a whole come out of trauma. And a lot of people assume that means we have to have been in a car crash or we had to have been to war. But the truth about trauma is that we can have little T's and big T's, meaning we can have, as children, and this is the hardest for a lot of people, and I don't know if this is your situation, but a lot of people growing up have little T's, where as a kid we don't fully understand what's happening, and it can be really frightening, or someone can spank us and it's a little too much and we get really scared. As an adult we look back and we think, oh, that wasn't a big deal, but as a kid that was a T, and we've like collected these little T's, and as an adult and as we grow up our brain gets too many of those and it pulls the ripcord, and that's its way of dealing.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but the big T's also cause it too, being like, car crash, abusive relationship, things like that.
Yeah, I guess mine, I had like a little collection of everything that happened to me in the space of like 2 years. And then my brain disconnected, and since then it's been like, this is fine, we can just stay here. And I'm trying to get it back and be like, no, I can deal with it, just give it all back. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way into like realigning my brain pathways. That's what TMS tries to do. It tries to kind of like give the part of the brain that causes the problem like a little bit of a kick. It kind of sends like magnetic impulses and like stimulates blood flow and encourages oxygen to flow. So for me, they did it in this part of the brain and in this part of the brain. Neither worked, sadly, but I'm going back to try a higher frequency. There's an 80% success rate in depression and in anxiety. Depression's on this side of the brain, anxiety's on this side of the brain. It's so interesting because depersonalization, derealization isn't as well known about or more as researched as the other two, then they don't really know too much about it. So there's a 50% success rate, and it didn't work for me yet, but I'm going back to try more.
It's a good message because there's a lot of different treatment options out there. The one that I find works best is like trauma-based treatment. That's why I was curious if you tried EMDR, but you said that you did, and that doesn't work for everybody either, and also can be really awkward.
I'd like to try it again, because it was really awkward. I think that's the main thing that kind of, like, pushed me away from it, because we tried, you know, she did all this stuff, and then we went through a memory, and I didn't do anything. I don't know if I did it wrong, or, like, I was just too nervous or spaced out. It just felt a bit awkward, so I kind of ran away from it, but I would like to try it again.
And the truth about EMDR is it doesn't work if we have derealisation or depersonalisation.
I close my eyes or like I'm focusing and I'm like, she's like, what are you thinking about? I'm like, I don't know. Who am I? Yeah, exactly.
That's why I was like, it's not the best trauma treatment that is the best for depersonalization, derealization. There's a couple different types of talk therapy. Meaning just talking in general, talking through traumas, all those little T's, some of those big T's, whatever we've been through. That's how we heal, and that part of our brain gets stronger, and we're flexing our resiliency muscle. So how we process trauma, if we're in fight or flight, which is like, run away, scream, or freeze, which is dissociation, depersonalization is down there where we feel like we can't leave, there's nothing we can do, all we can do is leave in our brain. If we're in those zones, we can't reprocess. Resilient zone is where we reprocess. So somatic experiencing is a great type of therapy. Just basic talk therapy.
I need to look these up.
And even schema therapy.
Do you want to talk about somatic?
Okay. So somatic experiencing is a lot of like mind-body connection. So recognizing how you're feeling, experiencing all of your senses. It's a lot of mindfulness. So that you can recognize how you're experiencing the world and how you're experiencing a situation, and you can use tools to kind of bring you back down. And I don't specialize in somatic experiencing or schema therapy, but I will have videos coming out shortly with a colleague of mine.
Oh, cool.
Who does. So those are probably the ones that I know are the best.
Okay.
What I practice personally is a lot of talk therapy. So like take me through what happened at that point, and then I ask a lot of questions and you have to go into detail, which totally sucks. But that's how our brain reprocesses. To give you a random, this is what I've told people on my channel, is the way our brain, you've seen Inside Out?
Yes.
So our brain files things away like those little marbles. And we're like, today I got to see Dodie, we had a panel, it was amazing, and then we went to dinner, yay. And I put in this little marble and I roll it off. And it's all filed away. But when we have a trauma of any kind, it's like someone takes your marble and they just splinter and it shoots through all your different memories.
Oh, wow.
And so our brain needs to take the time to go and pick up the little pieces and like super glue it back together and then roll it off.
That is so interesting. I love that.
But it's nice to like visualize it. So when you have even associative situation, you can think, I must have stumbled upon a little splinter. I didn't know it was there, but someone either sounded like this or this was too much or I'm feeling stressed out. And so your brain's like,
Wow.
But done properly at the right pace, you can like pick it up and put it in your little bin and you keep moving and
That is so cute. If you don't have depersonalization, but you know someone who does have it, how would you say you can help as a friend?
I think checking in is good, and knowing that a lot of the checking in isn't going to result in anything necessarily, but grabbing their hand sometimes, asking them how you can help.
Yeah. Any kind of touching, like if people rub my shoulders or like grab my arm, I love that. I really like
even
that.
Just like, and like that's the grounding techniques, and you have to learn what works for you because not everybody loves touch. Like some of my clients,
you have to ask.
Well, ask for permission. Consent is important. If you don't like touch, something that helps a lot of my clients is like, this sounds really weird, but it's not just fidget toys, it's like spiny things, like things that have a little nub to them because it's almost like someone touching you.
So true. I love, like, I have these little things on my wrist from the parties that I'm just fiddling with. Like, you'll notice if you see me in public or if I'm on a panel, I'll just be like scratching my arm. Yeah, I love fidgeting and like touching and scratching and physical things.
Rubber
really
bands.
Help. Yes, that
helps some people too.
Yeah. What do you think you should do if you think you might have derealization, depersonalization, or whatever?
Talk to somebody, someone that you trust. If you have the ability to reach out for help, get on that wait list, start that process. If you have the ability to afford private, make a call.
Yeah.
See.
It's difficult in the UK and probably everywhere else because derealization isn't too well known about yet. I had to bring like a letter for my GP or like, show them the Wikipedia page or like record yourself saying how you feel when you're experiencing it so you can show it there just in case you can't quite, pin the nail on the head. Is that a phrase?
Pin the tail on the dog. trick to give you like a loophole and a way to get in, kind of like sneak in, is to just say you struggle with trauma and flashbacks. I find that to be understood across the board because the truth about depersonalization, derealization is that that's where it kind of comes out of. And so you will end up getting the help that you need, and you can explain it to the specialist who will understand at that point.
Cool. That's really helpful. All right. Well, thanks so much. Thank you for joining
thanks for
me.
having me. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. We did a video on Katie's channel as well, so if you want to go have a little look, see, and definitely go over and visit as well because she has a wonderful channel.
No. Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, bye.
Bye.